Kenya hopes an estimated 750,000 citizens who cannot find work inside the country can find employment overseas. The government says it intends to sign at least 10 bilateral labour agreements with other nations, including Gulf countries, in an effort to ease the unemployment burden.
People are moving constantly. So the government of Kenya is giving a priority to labour migration, labour mobility, and that is why, one, we have signed bilateral labour agreements with a few countries, and also we have proposed to a number of countries the bilateral labour agreements that will govern the export of labour.
Cecilia, Wanjiku is joining over 170,000 other Kenyans already employed in the Gulf region. The government says nearly half of them are domestic workers. Wanjiku says she is leaving Kenya to work as a housekeeper in Saudi Arabia.
And since I cannot acquire a good job in Kenya, that is where I decided to go to Saudi, somewhere far from my country, to just look for at least a good job that is going to cater for all my needs while I'm here, for the people who are in Kenya, for my family.
Kenya received around $4 billion in remittances from its citizens abroad in 2022, and the government aims to triple that figure through these new labour agreements. However, advocates say desperation for jobs has exposed Kenyan immigrants to abuse from employers overseas. In 2021 alone, 41 Kenyans died while working in Saudi Arabia, according to the Minister of Foreign Affairs. Some rights activists say recruitment agencies in Kenya are not doing enough to protect and prevent the exploitation and abuse of workers. Peace Mutheu, who runs a recruitment agency in Nairobi, says many of the young women she sent abroad have run into trouble with employers.
For the last 2 years, I've defended 26 girls. 10 are back here in the country. 16 they have changed the employer. And by so doing, that is how I was affected.
Mutheu says Saudi agents have now blocked her from accessing the system, which lists job opportunities for young Kenyans. Faith Shimila worked in Saudi Arabia for a year and a half and returned with a scar in 2021. Shimila described brutal working conditions and abuse.
I used to work 18 to 19 hours, no medication, no resting hours, no leave, no breaking like you need to break, no. And leftover, that was what I was provided with. And where I was sleeping, a poorly place to sleep. And I was raped in all that. I can't count how many times I was raped in Saudi. But for sure, I was raped so many times with that employee.
Lawyer John Moreri represents Shimila and 12 others who have taken legal action against the Kenyan government, saying it failed to protect them.
Even in times of abuse, most of these victims call out to the government, please come to our help, but the government does not assist or offer any form of assistance.
The centre has asked the court to prohibit Kenyans from travelling to Gulf countries until their safety and rights are guaranteed. The Kenyan government says bilateral agreements with Gulf countries will offer workers protection from abuse, but critics remain sceptical. Mohammed Yusuf for VA News, Nairobi.